In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to a place at the table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
a place at the table where we're set to check much more than the table.
Welcome to a place at the table where we take on some serious issues of the day, but also where there's also some jocularity and always something to celebrate. My name is Bright Jaja, and I'm saying Naija to the world.
Certainly, Bright. I am Zuma Yahaya, and it's good to be back at the table. I'm stirring us up to celebrate and invest in women more, much, much more.
Absolutely, Zuma. We must always invest in women. Remi Tinubu is asking that all kidnappers receive the death penalty. I'm saying, why stop at kidnappers? What about public officials and all those who contribute to corruption in Nigeria? My name is Ireti Bakare Yusuf, but you probably already know that.
I hear you, Reti. Zero tolerance. What if the offender is an intimate partner? My name is Jinka Ogunubi, and I'll be speaking on the troubling issue of gender-based violence and saying that there's still much to be done.
Indeed, there's still a lot to be done, and it's a troubling issue, Yinka. I'm equally troubled by the fact that some would want to undermine the very identity and culture that gave them a platform in the first place. My name is Funke Treasure.
I agree with you, Funke. From being ashamed of who we are, I want to hold it up for the world to see. Today, I want to take you on a journey, a story of transformation, resilience, and creativity. It tells of a nation once viewed from a narrow lens, now celebrated on a global stage. So buckle up. It's going to be a ride filled with laughter, pride, and maybe a little bit of jollof. This is the story of Nigeria. In light of what's going on in the country right now, I've decided to focus my advocacy on something that would remind us of how far we've come as a people. You see, not too long ago, being Nigeria had its, let's say, unique set of challenges. Our reputation preceded us in ways that had airport security giving us an extra special welcome. Random check, they called it. Random indeed. I remember in 2019, a friend and I was walking through the streets of DC. A homeless man approached us and asked, "Y'all got some change?" I said, "Sorry, bro, we don't have cash." He noticed my accent and asked, "Where y'all from?" Proudly, I said, "We're Nigerians." He immediately clutched his pockets like we were about to pull a magic trick on his last dollar, screaming, "Y'all are slick." There it was, the stereotype we all knew too well. Yet, at that moment, all we could do was laugh. But fast forward to today, and what do you see? Nigeria is not just on the map. We are the map. Our music is the heartbeat of the world. Our stars, Burna Boy, Davido, Rema, turning global stage into their playground. Our jollof, a culinary ambassador making waves beyond our borders. And who could forget our movies? Lagos isn't just a city, it's a character in tales told on screens, big and small around the world. Being Nigeria has become the ultimate flex. Yes, you heard me right. From our swagger in fashion to our prowess in art, even down to winning the hearts of women across the world. My Nigeria brothers, I see y'all. We've become the world's latest addiction. But how did we achieve this? How did we get here? It was you, our youth, refusing to be defined by past labels, choosing to rise, to shine, to show the world the true essence of Nigeria spirit. Despite the odds, you thrived, turning every challenge into a stepping stone. It wasn't just about the degrees or the formal education. It was the hustle, the grind, the passion. From the sound engineer to the script writers, from the fashion designers to the tech innovators, every contribution has painted a picture so vibrant and compelling the world can't help but watch in awe. Your contribution have shifted perception. And now, being Nigeria isn't just cool, it's legendary. So, what can we learn from this incredible journey? That our narrative can shape demand, create a global appetite for our culture. Now imagine, just imagine, what more we could achieve with a little bit of push from those in power. Good governance isn't just a wish, it's the foundation we need to let these talents truly soar. We're not asking for too much. Just give us steady electricity, good road, quality education, and healthcare, and watch us transform not just Nigeria, but the world. The strength of Nigeria isn't just in its music, its art, or its food. It's in its people. It's in you. Here is to being proudly Nigerian, bleeding green and white, and showing the world what we're truly made of.
Bright.
That took a minute.
Okay, let me go first. I think you missed out on internet. You know, said give us good education, give us electricity, but give us internet, because again, the opportunities on the internet, they are like endless. It opens you up to a world of endless opportunities and learning opportunities.
It's a very moving piece about Nigerian spirit and what makes us different. I was telling Funke just before we came on set that, I was talking to my kids and I was letting them know that what makes them unique is not that they are trying to be like the West. What makes them unique is that they are Nigerian, and they should be proud of it. And guess where I said it? I went for my daughter's graduation, and there was this debate in the family of what I should wear. Okay, so I asked, what do normally the parents wear? And so, okay, it's a bit before summer, so it's like they wear their suits. And so I went, I traveled with my blazer. But as I was packing up, and I put my Niger, clothes in there. So because I wasn't sure what I was going to wear. So on the day of the graduation, I put all the clothes on the table and I'm like, what should I wear? And I realized I'm Nigerian. Okay, I paid school fees.
My money.
It's my money.
I worked hard for it.
Who cares how I look?
Exactly.
So I put on my Niger, native. The way it's
right?
No, I wasn't wearing it. But my Niger native. And I went to the event. And guess what? Everybody was talking about me. I mean, people came and like, you look nice.
You look good.
Where are you from? I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Lagos, And I stood out. And I used that opportunity to talk to my kids to say, look, this is what makes it different. There's nothing wrong with you being Nigerian. Okay? And if we are going to change the perception of people out there about this country, which is basically created by the few, the minority, the loud minority that are just doing ugly stuff, we, the majority that are doing the right things, we have to represent what our culture is. We have to represent what our music, our art, our dressing, our food, what we are, and then proudly show the world that we have nothing to be ashamed of.
Absolutely.
We have to be comfortable with being a Nigerian, just so we can share what being a Nigerian means.
Right, so Yinka, you took it right out of my mouth. Thank you, Bright, for celebrating our Nigerianness, your Nigerianness, my Nigerian, our Nigerianness.
Love.
And as Yinka said, it's not just about us as a people, it's about our food. Have you seen the way people celebrate not just our jollof rice, but our ogbono soup? Afang, the rest of them.
Let's go.
It's about our music. I mean, look at the entire world memorizing, the lyrics. You find a whole stadium singing Rema, and and so on and so forth. And then our football. Our football.
Osime.
Look at what happened at the last AFCON. We had, in fact, we're just catching cruise anyhow. Whichever country we were dealing with, it was the biggest cruise. And so I agree with you. I know that out there, Nigeria is also seen as the country of 419ers, but as Yinka said, it's just a few people. It's just a little percentage of people. The way we carry on with our babariga that we call Agbada in Yoruba land, the way you find people from the West getting married to our people and celebrating our culture, wanting to be like us, and wearing their own agbada and trying to dance to our music. I watched one online today, I'm like, oh God, these people don't have a sense of melody.
You have to stop messing up dance well.
They just want to be like us. So I join you in celebrating our Nigerianness. Hopefully one day we'll get it right with governance, and we will truly be able to flex even more across the world.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to come at it differently because I've been smiling and we all get into this, oh, we're proudly Nigerian. Of course we're proudly Nigerian. Can we please put that aside? Tell me a country. Literally, I'm not joking. Is there a country where you find there are people saying, I'm not proud to be such and such? They all are. So why do we always say, like, it's only like Nigerians that are proud? We are. All the other issues that we have, that's our own to carry, right? And we've got to accept that we're responsible. We're partly responsible for those issues, right? So I'm going to go back to something. So you talked about the music, you talked about the young people, but as usual, with you young people, you forget that somebody laid the foundation with which you can stand on. So what you forgot to do was to say thank you to those who laid that foundation, the generation before me, and the generation before you, which I am, etc., etc. Because it's true, you talk about the music, but gosh, would that music have traveled if Obasanjo hadn't done the internet? All you private sectors, including me, we can think we're great, but there is no private sector that will exist without government infrastructure. That's just a fact. So it was the government under Obasanjo who actually gave you that infrastructure. That infrastructure is what allowed our music to travel, right? Because obviously the likes of Fela couldn't travel as easily, right? They physically did it. They sold records, they did this, they did that. Now you can make music in your room, in Ajegunle or wherever, put it online, and you've got stars all over the world, right? You've got fans all over the world. So I do think whilst you Gen Zs like to pat yourself on the back, I think you need to drink a cup of water. I think you need to drink a cup of water and always remember to say thank you to those who did the work before you. And that's not to take away from what you said. But it's just that every generation always thinks they're the ones that did it. No, you did not. You're merely riding on it, and that's okay. Because the job of the previous generation is to hand to you, to hand this country to you, so you can carry it forward, right? So I wrote down progression and the future. I wrote down progression and the future, and that's what I hear from you, and that's what I'd like to focus on, rather than us patting our bags for. And if I hear one more person go on about jollof rice, where's the camera? I swear I will go crazy. Can we stop talking about jollof rice? Can we just, honestly, it's like jollof rice is the meaning of life. No, it is not. You have, or has to.
It's the best thing since jollof rice.
Jollof rice.
It's the best thing since jollof rice.
You have all these other soups that comes from all over Nigeria.
But not everybody knows that. Everybody knows
then maybe we need to start teaching them and stop turning to ourselves to Nigeria/jollof rice.
I'm Nigerian and I'm proud. What about you?
Right. I am Nigerian, a woman, and proud. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, in honor of International Women's Month, I am delving into a topic that's not just crucial to the future sustainability of the world, but improves the quality of life of the gender that makes up almost half of the world's population, confronting gender bias, why we should invest in her. Did you know that 4 out of 10 micro businesses are owned by women in Nigeria? Did you know that in the workforce there is almost equal men to women participation in the early years, but this significantly tapers out as they progress in their career, leaving fewer women in senior management and board positions? Did you know that businesses founded by women deliver more than twice as much return on investment as businesses founded by men? despite the barriers women face in accessing funding and support. Did you know that companies with more women in leadership outperformed their less diverse counterparts by 21%? Did you know that investing in women could add $12 trillion to the global GDP by 2025? Did you know that women are not just consumers, they are entrepreneurs, they are investors, innovators, and leaders who bring unique perspectives and problem-solving skills to the table? Imagine a world where women have equal access to education, equal access to healthcare, equal access to economic opportunities and career progression. A world where women are a priority and not an afterthought. A world where women are allowed to fail and try again in public without impacting other women negatively. A world where women are allowed to exist and bring the different parts of them to life. A world where women are given equal opportunities to thrive. Sounds pretty good, right? It's time to confront our gender bias. It's time to pay more than lip service and be intentional about breaking down the things that hold women back. It's time to put more women on. It is time to give more women money and more money to women. It is time to remove the gender difference in admission cutoff mark, particularly in northern Nigeria. It is time to let Nigerian women extend citizenship to their non-Nigerian spouses. It is time to level the playing field. It is time to invest in her and accelerate her progress. We'd like to hear fellow table members' thoughts on actionable ways to invest in women and their pledge towards accelerating progress.
I, for one, I believe that women have made a lot of progress. Have they made progress to the extent that we can say that we have achieved equality and equity? No. But from the days of when, women were established in gender roles, and those roles were such that they couldn't work, they couldn't vote, they couldn't own property, they couldn't even get educated. Today, those are not the conversations that we're having. We're having conversations about, 60% education for males, 40% education for females. It's senior management level,
the disparity.
So we're talking disparity, we're talking percentages now, and not that, this wide gap. And I think that that's progress, and we have to recognize that that progress is there. The second thing I want to talk about is the fact that as we celebrate Women's Day and Women's Month, basically, we have to keep working towards ensuring that we have this world where we recognize that the efforts of women, the efforts of women matches the effort of men, but the biology of women can sometimes impact their ability to be equal. So, and I speak, there's a part there where you said that the percentage of women coming into the workforce is the same.
Is it hard?
And I see that as a business executive, that in fact the reality is that we typically interview more women than men at entry level. We get more women in at entry level, but when you start getting to senior management level, biology happens, life happens, family happens. Okay, the woman gives birth, she needs to go take care of her kids, and then somehow along the line, she says, okay, I want to concentrate on my family, and then that happens. So we have to, really look at that subject of, what are we trying to achieve? Is it equality or equity? Because, because when you're talking about equality, all right, there are different weights. But if you're talking about equity, we can accommodate the challenges of women
and provide resources to support them.
But when you're talking equality, because if you're talking equity, you can talk, I don't know where you know where I'm going.
This conversation
really.
is about investing in her. It's not about equality.
Yeah.
It's about investing in her and leveling the playing ground. So leveling the playing ground sometimes could be equity, right? And at other times, it could be equality. So when we talk about women tapering out professionally at a certain point, when there is some level of flexibility to the work structure and when there are resources that support mothers in the workplace, that will significantly reduce. There will be a more level playing ground.
I agree.
I think I agree with Inka. I'm going to talk about this from the general perspective, and she asked me how many women are in my team. I'm going to talk about that too. But let's start from the general. I want to focus mostly on the North, which has a lot to do with tradition, right? And somebody was telling me that, women are progressing. I'm like, bro, have you gone to the North? have you been there? Have you seen, how literally I feel like they're in shackles. I feel like they're literally locked up in the house and they're being told how to live. I feel like we need to start with changing that perception, because whether we like it or not, the North is one of the largest part of this country. There's a lot of women out there, right? So I think it begins with just changing that perception. I'm going to focus on the other part, which is me. Everything I am today, 100%, I'm literally built by women around me. 70% of our team, whether in Nigeria and in America, are women. I was in a meeting yesterday, and it was just 2 guys and like 6 women, right? I feel like women have the ability to see what we can't see and to understand what we can't, right? And I feel like it's not something that we have to plead. It's an advantage. It's not a charity case.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Like if you understand as a CEO the value that a woman brings into your company, you would take the right steps. Everybody, most of the people that work with us, even our volunteers, most of the people that have, that in position of power within the companies are women. And it's been highly beneficial for us, right? So I also understand the fact that when you look at the environment and the workplace, it's not designed to support women. And this is something that also we should also consider.
To hear a man say, look, 70% of what we do, it's women are this and that, that's beautiful. And it's good to hear. I hope other men will listen to you and do that in the little corners of the world. I'd like to thank you for talking about one of the 5 gender bills. About last year, was it 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago already. There was this uproar, there was this buzz.
We basically rebelled and we protested against the National Assembly for not passing the gender bills. There were 5 gender bills and every single one of them wasn't passed. And we,
till
Nigerian
today,
women, went out.
And one of them is, I'm going to read it out from here. It is time to let Nigerian women extend citizenship to their non-Nigerian spouses. It's so skewed. If bride got married now to a non-Nigerian woman,
really?
Yes.
Immediately she becomes a Nigerian. As fast as possible, she becomes a Nigerian. Let Funke Treasure marry a non-Nigerian.
Wow.
It takes forever for him to become a Nigerian.
He can't.
He can't. It's not forever. He can't.
So, Bright is surprised.
I am surprised.
That is one of the 5 gender bills we fought relentlessly. We picketed the National Assembly. We had rallies up and down.
In Hausa, everywhere.
That particular assembly did not pass the gender bills. We've started lobbying again with this present assembly. I hope that now that I've said it, you've heard how ridiculous it is.
That's
maybe they will then revisit the gender bills. Secondly, Zoma, I'd like to thank you for also signposting challenges that women face in accessing funding and support for their businesses. And the fact that, I like the statistics that you gave. I don't know what your source is, but you spoke the truth in that piece. Women bend over backwards to be entrepreneurs. Men have it so smooth for them. They have access to the loans. I mean, they just meet at the clubs. Women don't have such clubs. You meet at the clubs and you just give a complimentary card here, a word there, you get it going for you. And women slave and slave and slave, and they still don't get the support, and they still don't get the funding. Reti made a statement here last week about the fact that it's women you find operating an NGOs, yes, because they don't have the money, really, to operate the big companies. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Zuma.
Look, this is a forever topic and it's been going on. The debate will continue in earnest and it's been going on for decades. Okay, the good thing is Nigeria is more and more part of the debate and more part of the global debate that's reshaping the way not just Nigeria but the world receives women. Okay, now one of the things that I wrote down, Yinka made a very good point, but I would like to, he made a good point, but I think he used the word and he said accommodate. No, it's not for you. We're not asking for permission. Women are no longer asking for permission. So if you don't accommodate, you move aside. That's your wahala.
Period.
It's true. It's that simple. But you made a good point about biology. It is true. A woman gets to a particular age and she wants to have a child, right? As my mother would say, it's never too late to get married. It's biology that tells you when, you can't no longer have a child. But however, here's the thing. That's why when Zuma said intentional is the word, not even the buzzword. Intentional is the word that must be kept in mind. When you have a good member of staff, an efficient one, a smart one, and she says, look, I'm going to go off, I want to take a sabbatical for 2-3 years, right? Or 5 years, I don't know, I want to have a baby, right? It's up to the organization to actually be intentional about wanting to keep her. Why can't she work 2 days from home or 3 days from home, right? Why should you lose her? You don't have to, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
You don't have to lose anybody. Work is what you do, not where you are. So when you employ a woman and she says, I want to go and have a baby, or I'm getting married and I want to take 2 years off, or I'm pregnant, I'm taking maternity leave. Remember, work is what she does, not where she is. So as long as she's able to still be as productive as you need her to be, as her work demands, whilst being at home, and yes, women will breastfeed. I went back to work 6 months after having my baby, in all honesty. Women will breastfeed and want to be doing the computer on the other hand. That's just what we do. And I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. I'm just saying, for all the employers out there that say that,
When you employ a woman.
When you employ a woman, biology steps in, etc., no.
It's an excuse.
Just be intentional. Remember, work is what she does, not where she is.
Some things are just common sense. Other than this, we are cutting off our noses to spite our faces. Ireti is up next, and she's setting out some more common sense.
Punishment has its place in every society. It's time we got serious about punishing those who offend in Nigeria. They are cowards. Our hearts bleed. I call on the state governments that once we take hold of them, they deserve capital punishment. Why can't they take men of their size? Why are they touching women and children? Those are the words of the First Lady of Nigeria, Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, about the increasing trend of mass kidnappings in the country. Now, while Mrs. Tinubu is right to call for capital punishment, I must ask, why is the former lawmaker only grasping at the low-hanging fruit? Besides, why is she now a proponent for capital punishment? It's not like mass kidnappings in Nigeria only began today. What stopped her from sponsoring such a bill during her 12 years tenure at the National Assembly as a senator? Anyway, I digress. My monologue today is to broaden and amplify Mrs. Tinubu's portraiture. I am of the opinion that capital punishment shouldn't stop at kidnapping. The dragnet should include government officials, elected or appointed, including career civil servants. You see, those who kidnap our babies are no different from those who steal our commonwealth. In fact, contrary to common belief, corruption doesn't start and end with thievery. When a society is infested with corruption, the paralysis of the epidemic is total. Having found its way into the crevices and threads of our society and institutions, why then should we only be calling for death sentence for kidnappers? Why not their masters, their funders, their enablers, and their cohorts who deprive Nigeria of her destined greatness. Contrary to popular belief, there are three economies in Nigeria: the formal economy, the informal economy, and the third is what I call the sabotage economy. See, while the other two economies struggle for both micro and macro survival, the third economy lurks in the shadows, ready to unleash its selfish and destructive forces on any good ideas, policy, or implementation. It was Nuhu Ribadu, who also happens to be the current National Security Advisor, who famously quipped, "When you fight corruption, it fights back," unquote. Which then begs the question, why has successive administrations, present ones included, been playing 10-10, pussyfooting and popcorn battles with the single most calamitous factor in our democracy? My suggestion might seem harsh or even controversial. However, I propose to you, should a national vote be conducted asking if the citizens are in favor of capital punishment for economic crimes, the majority would concur. Therefore, should the National Assembly pass the law that aligns with the people's wishes, state governments would be forced to act more decisively about ending corruption in Nigeria. The state governments would also be obliged to execute any official found guilty of misappropriation or embezzlement of public funds. The penalty for economic crimes in China is capital punishment by lethal injection. The question is, why wouldn't the National Assembly legislate such a punishment for economic crimes, a crime that's tantamount to treason?
I support that there should be capital punishment for economic crimes. Why? Because corruption kills. You find people dying in hospitals where the administrators have mismanaged funds. No oxygen, no beds, no this, no that, people die. You find that bad roads, because somebody has given some other person 70% of the money they should use to build the roads. And so then they end up with a silly mix and substandard roads. So the road activates killings and traffic, which impacts on the man hours you spend commuting from your house if you're not doing remote work and all of that. Corruption kills. Corruption has retrogressed this country for years. The gains we thought we had, we've lost because of corruption. Corruption is the reason why that pregnant woman will not have the right health care. Why in local governments, the smallest area of governance will not have health centers because somebody has been bribed and the money is gone. I support capital punishment for those who commit economic crimes. Look at our banks. We're in this quagmire because, as we have read in newspapers and we've heard analysts talk about, our funds have been mismanaged. Even the CBN is not free of this economic mismanagement. So, again, I support capital punishment for economic crimes.
Thank you.
So for me, I view corruption through the lens of the value of infrastructure it can provide. Say you embezzled 200 billion naira, right? That is how many hospitals, that is how many roads, how many mass
So all the infrastructure that it denies,
it can provide, and the number of people that are being deprived.
Yes, so it's what it denies.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when they embezzle funds, they don't process it through the lens of consequences. Like, okay, this money I'm taking to probably buy a Lamborghini or whatever it is the money is used for, it is killing my family members in the village. They don't say it, they'll just say, oh, okay, I'm just taking this money, because nothing exists in a vacuum. Whatever it is you're stealing, it is meant to solve a particular problem. So yes, I absolutely support capital punishment for economic crimes.
A former president once said, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. And as Funke and Zuma said, the reality is that the man or woman, in that we've seen that takes away monies from the Commonwealth of Nigeria and diverts it for personal gain is actually killing people. The man or woman who diverts the money that should have used to repair a road, and that bad road gets to kill people because there was no investment in that road, is a murderer. And so by the time we start reframing the concept of corruption from a rich man's crime, because that's what it is essentially in Nigeria today, we understand that when you view them from the lenses of a murderer, you understand why it's fine to actually put capital punishment.
We view corruption from the lens of it's just money, instead of it's not just money, the ripple effects of the money you're stealing.
Yeah, I mean, lives are literally being...
They're murderers, that's just it.
Being
you
lost
get it,
for that
they're
process.
murderers.
Right.
I think I agree with everybody on this table.
Finally.
For the first time in this show, I totally agree with you on one thing. And it's because I think Nigeria is used to addressing the symptoms instead of focusing on the real illness.
Absolutely.
Because when you look at it, why do we have kidnappers? Why do we have thieves? Why do we have all of these people?
Those are ripple effects of corruption.
It's literally because there's somebody that is taking the wealth for themselves instead of putting structures in place that was the problem. So I feel like it begins with us understanding that everything that we do has a ripple effect, multiple ripple effects. Now going back to the government, who are people who would put the structures in place and set up
the National Assembly.
Yeah, that would set up structures that would hold people accountable.
What I was asking, so you can actually address it, what I was asking in my advocacy is for the National Assembly to actually pass a bill that criminalizes, that the consequence of economic crimes, which includes kidnapping, should be capital punishment.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
It's even becoming a culture, which is sad. So everybody expects some sort of tip
Kickback.
when they've not done anything. That's the word, gratification when they've not done anything worth. I mean, you start asking, so what have you done for me to warrant me giving you something?
Until the government, the National Assembly, our lawmakers have the courage and the sincerity of purpose to actually pass a bill, legislate that's the consequence to stealing from this country, because it is treason. Justice, after all, is about the balancing of the scales. Yinka is up next, and he'll be weighing in on an issue that ought to be dear to all of our hearts.
You're right, Ireti. In fact, I'm hoping that we all will throw our weight behind this, as there's still a lot of work to be done. March 8, 2024 was International Women's Day. Globally, March has been declared the month of the woman, specifically to celebrate the achievements of women and draw attention to their issues. Women have progressed from the gender roles of cooking, cleaning, and raising children to the ability to work, earn equitable income, vote, own property, be educated, and participate in politics. But there's still much to be done. And I'd like to highlight a very disturbing topic: gender-based violence. Statistics from the GBV Data Situation Room estimate that 35% of women, with 1 in 3 Nigerian females, experience violence at some point in their lives, mostly by an intimate partner. 6 states, Adamawa, Lagos, Sokoto, Cross River, Ebonyi, and the FCT, recorded 27,698 cases of sexual and gender-based violence between 2020 and 2023. 1,145 of them were fatalities. Let me make you understand that better. At least 4 out of every 100 gender-based violence ended up with the woman dying. Last year, December, Invictus Africa published the Womanity Index, which is an annual assessment and ranking of subnationals based on their performance to prevent and respond to GBV, as per indicators spread over 5 indexes: law and policy, access to legal justice, support services, information and awareness, and budget and spending. Each subnational was ranked on a 4-color code, blue the highest, followed by green, then amber, and the last being red. Of the 36 states plus the FCT, only Lagos State achieved the blue ranking. 5 states had the green ranking: Ogun, Ekiti, Edo, Delta, and Akwa Ibom. 23 states, including the FCT, were amber, while 8 states were in the red, all of them in the northern part of the country. Yes, I know what you are thinking. That picture doesn't look good. But for states to move from red to amber to green and blue, they need to do a couple of things. Number one, they need to implement laws and policies that strengthen prevention and response to GBV, including criminalizing negative customary laws and harmful sociocultural norms and practices. Number two, they need to make access to legal justice easier for victims through non-bureaucratic GBV prosecution process, enforcement of court judgments, publication and updating of sex offenders register. Number three, we must have holistic and effective support services for GBV survivors in place through shelters like the Sexual Assault Referral Centers called SACs that are accessible. Number four, there must be constant provision and dissemination of simple information, education, and communication materials about GBV, such that it is user-friendly, in people's language, and accessible to all. And number five, budget allocation and spending on GBV prevention and response, including specific GBV budget lines in the state budget, must be in place. This advocacy concerns us all. While the government must do its bit, the biggest part has to do with every one of us. We must elevate our values and preserve and respect the biggest gift to mankind, humanity, so that our daughters, our sisters, wives, mothers, and every woman is protected from gender-based violence.
Thank you so much for shining light on this. I think one of the biggest problem we have in Nigeria is if it's not close to you, it doesn't affect you. And there's a lot of people, especially in rural communities, that face this challenge. I was talking to a friend of mine, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I told her that I don't want to have a female child. I'm telling God I just want male. You know why? Because this world is so hard on women. And I will kill somebody if you do anything. If you do anything to my daughter, I will kill. I know I won't be able to control myself, right? So I'm like, God, just let's just be boys, because this is just so unfair. It's just so unfair to women.
I realized that, just as you said, this is endemic in Nigeria right now. And the better we start talking about it the way you have, the better for us. I mean, you have inspired inclusion by the fact that you're a man and you're making this advocacy. We must elevate our values. I heard you say that. As a trainer, because I train journalists on how to report SGBV. So you see, I'm very involved in this. I'm almost struggling to speak as somebody really quite involved in seeing that this stops. Yes, I'm trying, and I'm finding it hard.
Struggling,
yes, there is the VAP law, 2015, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law. Not all states in Nigeria have signed this law.
But there's one thing to pass the law, there's another thing to implement it. I think Lagos State has shown the pathway to that, about how you don't just pass a law, you enforce the implementation of it with agencies that can actually go and do that. Yeah.
So let me come in. When you mentioned about Lagos State, again, I like to give credit where credit is due. So we have DSVRT. Yes. It's part of Amber Day's work. That's the legacy that Amber Day left for Lagos State. And of course, the good thing is government is a continuum. Sanwo-Olu comes in and he strengthened it even further.
The high statistics on gender-based violence, I still think it is still largely underreported. I strongly believe it is underreported, and it is important to acknowledge Lagos State government for leading the fight on this agenda. It's very, very commendable, and we're looking forward to more states imbibing that and ensuring that women and men are adequately protected from intimate partner violence.
I repeat, humanity is the biggest gift to mankind. Can I get a witness, Funke? Yeah.
It is. Why is it only Funke you're asking?
It is.
Yes,
It is indeed. Let's shout it louder for those at the back, Inka. And I'm certainly speaking out like Bright and Zuma. I'm saying, I'm Nigerian, a woman, Yoruba, and proud. Of celebrities and influence. Last week, one of Nigeria's Nollywood stars, Aduniade, made startling statements that bordered on denigrating an ethnic group and its language. She went further to carpet the entirety of the languages of Nigeria. She said, and I quote, "Speaking Yoruba is draining. Sometimes it hurts my nerves. The first language that we know in Nigeria is English. Let's put all the other languages aside." End of quote. What I find most unpalatable is her suggestion that we should jettison all Nigerian languages and speak only English. What a thoughtless thing to say. A people's language reflects their culture. It is their identity. What Aduniade is saying that we should de-emphasize our collective culture with its vibrant music, food, and way of life for the English language. And it's the dismissive, utterly disrespectful way she went on with the disgraceful statements. I was embarrassed for her. Is this the colonial mentality Fela sang about? The British, custodians of the English language he asked us to embrace, Aduniade, have a multicultural policy. They welcome all cultures and languages to Britain. They understand linguistic pride. So they accord the different peoples of the world who live in their land linguistic dignity. So what manner of sophistication fell upon our dear Aduniade in the studio? Now, being a celebrity has its beauty and its burdens. Being a celebrity demands a keen awareness of the environments where you operate from. It demands sensitivity and identification with the people who adore you. Some of our fans feel she bit the hand that fed her with that statement. The language on which you mounted or you climbed to fame and stardom suddenly stresses you out. Aduniade, born to a German-American mother and a Lagos-born Nigerian father, a Yoruba Nollywood star who made her name as an actress and celebrity within the Yoruba genre of Nigeria's movie industry, suddenly has either forgotten how she climbed the ladder as a celeb, or there is something else to this. Your appeal is your ability to speak Yoruba as someone of mixed race, Aduniade. It is the very basis of your star appeal and power. Chris Rojek refers to celebrity as the attribution of glamorous or notorious status to an individual within the public sphere. And he identifies three categories of celebrityhood. It could be ascribed, it could be achieved, it could be attributed. Celebrities are courted for their enormous influence, and that's why brands seek them for product endorsements. So yes, your words have impact on your sphere of influence. So perish the thought if you think you could call the bluff of your fans and admirers. Remember that the fandom fights back with cancel culture. Hopefully they won't cancel you. Aduniade's statements got me thinking about how well some Nigerian celebrities value the influence they wield, whether they really comprehend the enormity of it. Aduniade has a right of reply. She can provide an illumination into what she saw in this vegetable soup that warranted picking out the locust bean seeds on her palm. Literally.
I think it is very disturbing that someone of Yoruba origin will find it stressful. Was that the word she used?
Yeah, it's getting on her nerves. It's stressing her out. Some
will find speaking a native language to be getting on her nerves. What level of inferiority complex is that? Where is that coming from? Can she speak English more than the British? The English she wants all of us to start speaking. I think it is disrespectful to the culture. It is disrespectful to our fans. It is disrespectful to our father, again. And also to the entire Yoruba culture. It is getting on and that.
Which is why I'm taking it up. And I mean, I understand that she's done an Instagram live and she's addressed it. But
she's addressed it already.
Yes, but you see, it's out there and we need to say it's not right so that impressionable young people don't see it as fun and fun. To go in that order.
We don't understand and value what we have because it's within us. I was on a flight with some guy. I was married to Boston, and we just started chatting. And I was telling him about my background, King Jaja of Opobo, and how I chased everything down, and my traditional name. And he looked at me and he was like, "Damn, you're lucky, man. You're so lucky, man. The fact that you have that. Like, all I know is Cleveland."
Yeah, your heritage.
All I know is Cleveland. Like, I don't know my great-grandfather, but you know, like 10 generations back. That is crazy. The fact that you could speak your language, the fact that if you check everywhere I go outside, I literally dress like this here, but when I travel, this is how I dress. I don't care. Because I'm excited. I have something that a lot of people will do anything. I think that's the mentality that we need to drive to the next generation. What you have is precious. The fact that you can speak your language, the fact that you can communicate the way you communicate, the fact that you can eat your food, people would do anything, especially the Americans and even the British. I mean, they took all our artwork. If it wasn't that important, why did they take it? Right? So I think we need to come to that realization that what we have is precious and we need to guide it with our life and make sure that we pass it on to the next generation.
There is a cultural, or what I call evolving modern cultural perspective. The idea that speaking local language is vernacular. I learned Yoruba in school, not because that was language of education, but that was a language of communication, basically.
Camaraderie.
Yeah. And I learned it in school, especially with our kids right now, because they are going to these schools. And these schools, I don't want to say indoctrinating them, but training them on a path where Aduni is basically reflecting that speaking the local language is stress.
It's draining her.
Yeah. And so what I do now for my kids, I'm very, very deliberate. At home, I only speak Yoruba to them.
Interesting. The Yoruba that is not very smooth.
Yes.
Aduni said she's constantly being asked to speak Yoruba. Oh, speak Yoruba. And she said it gets annoying. And it actually does. Because the same thing, the exact same thing that she's talking about happened to me after I moved here. And I'm thinking to myself, how dare you? Why do I have to prove my Yoruba-ness to you? Those who claim they would rather speak English often can't speak the same English very well. And that's what's happened with Aduniade.
Let me quote her, how she said it. She said, speaking Yoruba is draining. Sometimes it hurts my nerves. The first language that we know in Nigeria is English. Let's put all the other languages aside.
Okay, no,
that's intentional.
That's where the inferiority,
frustration
and annoyance.
But
she's in TV.
Yeah, she's probably also in a space where, everybody's demanding these things from her too. But also, she needs to also understand that she's in a position where when she says something, it can be misinterpreted.
Millions of people, she's influential.
But I get where she's coming from. It can be annoying.
The point I'm making is that was a careless statement. Even if she didn't mean it the way it came out, you do not tell a nation to pocket the rest of their languages and start speaking English. Yeah. Even if we decide not to look at the Yoruba part of what she said that is draining her, that statement that we should forget all the other languages, more than 350 something languages in Nigeria, and focus on English, like say wetin happen.
Say wetin.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
I agree with you, Bright. And as you said, here at the table, we interrogate the serious issues and celebrate our wins. We're also glad to say that Kate will be back at the table next week. Yes. So you join us next week, same time, right here on News Central. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us. Kate, come.
Oh, yes.
Now do we do this?
Love.
Oh, for goodness.
This is how we do it. What are you doing? How are you doing?
This is it. Social media. Comments, please. You guys know what this is, right?
This is it.
Do you know what this is?